Hello everybody, welcome to Fuji Fanboys. This is Ivan. Today I'm going to share with you my little experience in Japan. 2 weeks ago, I went for a family holiday to Japan, Tokyo, Yokohama and Kawaguchi. So prior to that, I will always think what setup should I bring. So after much consideration, these are the 4 lenses that I've decided. I know 4 lenses sounds like a lot, right? It is a lot. Total weight with X-H2, 2.5 kg, nothing more, which I think to me is relatively okay. If you come from the GFX world, this is relatively light. Of course, if you do street, this is quite a hefty sum of weight to carry. Okay, my first lens is the 56mm, 1.2, the new lens, I love it. X-H2 with the 23mm 1.4 LMWR, superb lens. And I needed some compression, so I had a 70 to 300. I like this because it's the best travel lens, small, heaps are reached. And the last one is the Voltrox 13mm 1.4. I like this lens because it's wide and it's a prime. Unfortunately, I had a mishap. I was packing my bag. I put this lens with the Moment Cine Bloom filter on it in my PD backpack. I forgot to zip, so after lunch I pick it up, bang, hit hard, and the Cine Bloom is cracked. As if you can see, I don't know if you can see from here. Yeah, it's basically cracked. It's a painful hit, but it is what it is, and I continue shooting it actually with it, and surprisingly, the crack lines from the filter creates quite an interesting reflection from it. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but we'll see. I'll show you some pictures later, alright? So these are some of the pictures that I've shot. They are in black and white. Okay, this first picture is a picture when we just arrived in Haneda. I like this picture because not every day you see nuns in Japan, I would think so, right? They're just having a little girl stuff, having an ice cream together. In the foreground is my wife to create some dimension. I like this picture because of how it's being, the way it's being positioned, right? The nuns, my wife in the foreground, and also this little signboard of a fork, knife, and spoon. All right. The next picture, this is a typical Shinjuku picture. Busy. So sometimes it's good to take it slow, shoot in a slower shutter speed to create a sense of movement so that we could tell in the picture that it's a busy environment. This picture is taken in the subway. The idea of this picture is to showcase the contrast between the fashionable and the typical Japanese. So sometimes it's important in a picture that we need to showcase a contrast, and this is a good example. This was taken in Disneyland. We're all busy looking at the parade, looking in front, trying to go over somebody's shoulder to get a shot. And suddenly I realized right in front of me is this little girl. So sometimes, as much as we want to see far ahead, we should always see just right in front of us. Sometimes we may miss some cute shots like this one. This is my daughter in Disneyland, in the carousel. This shot is shot with the Voltrox 13mm lens with the Cine Bloom 20% strength. This is shot obviously before the drop. As you can see in this picture, the bloom from the lights, this is where it creates some mood to it, you know. I enjoy this filter very much actually for night scene. I was waiting, taking a rest at the back side of Shinjuku, and there was this scene, so I love the escalator on the background, the lines, and it's a bright sunny day, so the contrast was great. So people walk in, walk up the escalator, so I just put my camera on my waist, on my lap as I was seated. So I just flip this thing up, my LCD, and I just put it in my lap, and just look and fire. And this is the best shot I've got. I like this shot because I like the flow on the lady, how the trench coat flows, and how the line works together for this picture. Not far from the last scene, this is where the train track is. I like this scene because it shows a sense of speed, rushed, as the train officer waits there in his stillness. This is shot in a rather slow shuttle speed. It is 1/20 of a second, alright? The next picture, it's just a crossing in Shinjuku Station. I like how the ladies in the front and the lady pointing the finger framing that highway bust. We all sit in the train, you know, everybody's busy doing their own thing. Same scene, I just put my 23mm on my lap and just fire off as these two elderly ladies chit-chat with one another. I like scenes where you could actually have a bit of dimension, layering we call it. So I shot through this glass to this sushi bar. It creates a certain degree of depth. So sometimes reflection on this glass wall may be a disadvantage, but sometimes if you take advantage of it, it helps you to create a certain dimension and depth. So this is the same thing, this scene at the train track in the night. So just above the line, I can actually put my camera above the glass panel and have a clear shot to shoot it. But in the end, I realized the reflection in front of it is quite interesting, so I shoot it through the reflection. So the difficult part is to ensure this reflection works nicely for this particular picture of this man waiting for his train to come. Typical Tokyo night scene. This is shot with the Voltrox 2 and with the Cine Bloom. It creates this mood, which I love it, this dreamy mood. While waiting at the traffic light, this is where the shot was taken. There's a zebra crossing. So what I usually do is I take the camera, I focus on the ground, the road ahead, and then set it to slow shutter speed. And when the vehicle comes across, I'll just put it in the drive mode, maybe 7 frames, 10 frames, 15 frames, and just pan along and just grab the shot. So this is the best of that for this scene. This is shot with at 1 second f-stop, 1 second exposure for that lines. This is taken with the Shinjuku Gardens. I waited for a little while, not long. I probably spent half an hour in this garden before I went back to meet up my family. This is what I shot. I love the scale of a man in the front. This helps us to understand the dimension a little bit better. So I was fortunate enough to have this man walking across, right? When this scene presented itself to me, I wanted to focus on the family in front, but in the end I thought it was more interesting to focus on the track in front of them. It looks like they're having a little tea time snack as a family, and I think the focus should be what they are looking at instead of just focusing on them and blur the background. So there are situations where you don't need to shoot on the subject, just shoot on the background. For this case, they are foreground, right? To make the picture a bit more interesting. This is a shot taken at the Cup Noodles Museum where I went with my family. These are the two ladies putting up the ingredients for the cup noodles that we have painted on. This is a picture of a building in Yokohama. Sometimes when you look at a nice building and it's just bare blue sky and the building, it's also interesting to add on some elements in the front. For this case, a lamp and a street lights for this case to create some dimension. I wouldn't say dimension, not even perspective. How should I put it? The lamppost and the lamp creates a point of interest that leads towards the building. This is also taken in Yokohama. There's some dogs on a pram. I think pets products, a big industry in Japan. They're all in a pram. It's Christmas time and the owners are just dressing the parks up for the festivities. I wanted to go to the front and go closer to snap the 3 dogs, but in the end I decided to move back a bit and use the ladies in the front to frame the picture and also the busyness at the back to frame it up. So sometimes it's okay to put all the elements together, because I feel in this scene I break the pets and the humans, as in they're separated, because the focus is the pet. There are a lot of human element around, but it doesn't distract because the focus is still the pets. The human element is just a framing element for this picture. On the way back at the train station, I saw the officer that was getting ready to move the train. So I waited for a while for somebody to walk past, and so happened at that point another train was zooming by. So again, slow shutter speed to get the movement. This is the famous Golden Guy, I think you call it, in Shinjuku, where there's many small pubs and things like that. All the pubs are small. They can seat like, I don't know, 8 to 12 people. I didn't have the opportunity to go in the night, so I went in the morning. It was very peaceful and quiet, interesting elements around to photograph. This scene was taken because this group probably just finished drinking. It's probably about 7:30 in the morning. And they're all happy and drunk and jolly, and they're just coming out, so I took a snapshot of this. Another panning shot of the road for typical Japanese taxis. I left the lines on the zebra crossing lines. Early in the morning, man in the street. I frame him in the middle of this section here. Somebody running across. I had my 56 on and just snapped it. He was just rushing across. This is a shot of this is shot on the weekend, and kids were having a baseball game. And I was shooting through the fence. I couldn't get a clear shot. So in the end, I moved to a point where there's this tree, and this blurriness in this picture is actually caused by the fence. So sometimes we can take advantage of this fence to frame your picture. This scene was rather interesting. It's at Yoyogi Stadium area. When I reached here, I first saw the little girl. I was just wondering, why is she doing that? It's rather dangerous. And I'm not sure whether the lady in the front, because there's no other people around except this lady. I don't know, is it the little girl's mother, but she seems to be waiting for her. And after a few seconds later, pop on the right hand top, a man was taking a picture up there. So when I snapped it, I thought it's an interesting element of fear, parenting responsibility, I think. Yeah. For this scene, I like the lid on this building. I waited for about a couple of minutes, 3 to 4 minutes, to get the people in place in that sense. I didn't direct them, of course. I waited, I snap, and this is the best I got. I kind of like the feel of it, where the people in the front are just going left, right, you know. Creates an interesting perspective to the shot. Had my breakfast at Wendy's burger joint. Yeah, I saw this young man, I think it's a student, taking a nap in front as I focus onto the background. Crossing, sometimes I set my camera and just snap as I go across the traffic. I like this shot. I like the chill from this man's face. This scene is a supermarket, departmental store. I just walked past and I saw everybody waiting. It's like 2 minutes before the shop opens at 10. Again, the framing is done with all the people in the foreground looking towards the lady to welcome, as this is staff of the departmental store welcoming the people. This old gentleman looking at some of these, I don't know what you call this. My daughter just put a coin to get some little toy coming out from it. It's an old man actually looking at it. Maybe he's buying something for his grandchildren. Our favorite lunch place, ramen place, a shot of a typical lunchtime scene of typical working class Japanese having their quick lunch. I like this shot because they're all seated, you know, spaced nicely. I deliberately put this shoulder in the picture to create some depth. This is a pose picture of my daughter walking across in a museum. I just love the curves, so I asked her to walk across. Same thing, slow shutter speed helps in creating a mood. This scene is taken in Roppongi with some udon restaurant that we had. Slow shutter speed pretty wide open, 23 mm. Same scene to create the busyness of Shinjuku Station. I actually love the stability, the IBIS on this camera. It works very well for this scene. I just hold it, did a couple of shots, and this is the best I could get. This is taken in 1/10 of a second. Raining days, right? I like this shot because it's cute. This man actually put his jacket over as like a hoodie. Here's another shot. There was just a sudden rain and then they were just walking around. I had my jacket with me too. I enjoyed myself. Brave the scene with the X-H2. Let me see whether I have the picture with me. Yeah, there you go. My X-H2 all drenched. Look, I survived. All wet. Live to tell, still dry now, still working, alright? Next scene. I don't know why about this house, I just love it, and I did a shot wide open. I can't tell you why I love this picture. I don't know. What do you think? Do you like this picture? I think it looks nicer in color. I was hoping to get a shot of Fujisan, Mount Fuji, but the clouds keep covering it. This is the best I could get when I first arrived at Kawaguchiko. Instead of zooming into the mountains, to this Mount Fuji, I added the foreground with this bus driver having a chat. It was a cloudy day. We wanted to stay in this hotel, but it was fully booked. I waited for a while too, and suddenly there are pockets of light going through the lights, and that's where I think it's beautiful, because there's a lot of highlights and shadows in this picture. It's like a blessing shooting this cloudy day, you sometimes get pockets of light going through it. Was about to shoot my daughter for this scene. I realized in the background this Fujifan girl, they were using an X-H2, I think, shooting the boyfriend and husband across. Sometimes it's also interesting to, no doubt in this scene my daughter is distracting me, in distracting the picture, but I felt that it's an interesting element because she's posing and behind the focus is this couple taking a picture. 7-Eleven, I just love the dimension of this picture. This man waiting and the lines and the round dots. This is a peaceful scene. There's some lake along the way as we drive back. Wanted to take a Mount Fuji in its full glory, but the foreground wasn't looking it's a bit too messy for my liking. So I actually went a bit lower and shoot upwards and found these two branches, and I think it kind of worked for me. So sometime if the picture doesn't work, look around. Left, right, go lower, shoot up. And for this scene, this is what I did. Fuji Yoshida, I think. The iconic place. I just had to go there in the morning. Spent 5 minutes, did a couple of shots. This is what I like best. Again, okay, this is the same thing. This is shot with this lens, with the filter broken. As you can see on the Voltrox 30mm and the Cine Bloom, the lines created by the crack lines is actually quite interesting, and it works well for this scene. Do you agree with me? I like this very much actually. This is to show the scale using the 70-300. Or is it the 56? Let me see. It's the 56 mm. The scale of how tall this mountain is. And this next shot is taken with the 70-300 to compress the building. I think it's quite nice to show that too. Beautiful day, the day that we left Kawaguchi for back to Tokyo. I love this gentleman, the element. As I shoot the Mount Fuji in the foreground, I realized there was a bus driver actually standing on the left. This was my favorite shot actually. A schoolgirl going to school, and the train station and the bus, and also the background, this cloud. This cloud looks a bit like an eagle to me, resting on the nest on Mount Fuji. Do you agree? This is my favorite shot for Mount Fuji. I actually like that the wire lines above Mount Fuji. It creates a bit more point of interest for me. I have a shot of it without it, but my favorite is the one with these lines. Sometimes a clean shot may be great, but sometimes adding these elements makes this picture a bit more interesting. This is taken beside the hotel that we're staying in. I love the clean walls. Backlight, that's my wifey sitting across, going to obviously Disneyland. For this case, I think it's Disney Sea. I didn't get busted for this shot. She's actually waving at me. It looks like she was telling me not to shoot her, but it's not actually. She's waving the Disney wave, the Mickey Mouse wave, you know. Hi! Love this shot. I pre-focus my camera, or I set my drive to high, and I just walk and I just snap. So this was one of the few shots I love. The couple having the doggy above their heads and the sun star shining across. Love this Minnie Mouse, Mickey Mouse headbands. I think it's beautiful. And the three ladies walking in front. This is shot at Akibahara. I love this little bridge. I use it as a perspective to go towards the people crossing the road. I also lowered the shutter speed so that to show a sense of speed and busyness, so-called. Also the traffic light. I don't know. This gentleman was standing there in this weird position. Maybe he needs to pee, I got no idea. But it only lasted for 5 seconds, you know, and then he started walking. I was walking, I was second last day before I leave back to Singapore. I was going to meet Jun-san from Fujifilm for lunch, and came across this place from the train station, and I thought it was interesting because there are a couple of gentlemen shooting across the road. So I went across the road and saw this view. I don't know if it's famous, but I think it's quite beautiful. There's a river, there's a couple of train tracks moving, you know, and the bridge on the far end. So I spent a few minutes too, taking this shot. Beautiful. While taking the train, another slow shutter speed. I like it because there's this man moving across, the train is also moving, and the stillness of the other passenger on the other train. It was an evening shot, underexposed a bit. I like the scene of this single light that's switched on in this building to show the contrast, actually. The busiest street in the world, actually, intersection, right? This is also shot with Voltrox 13mm with the broken filter. I like how this scene works together with that cracked lines, right? Do you agree? I think it looks pretty nice. I was walking past the fire station and I saw this gentleman's shoes, in the fire station. I thought it was interesting. Right? Sometimes we need to focus on the funny things as we move along in our street photography. And this was a picture that I shot of Jun-san asking the waiter in the Japanese restaurant. And I would like to say thank you, actually, to the team that made the X-H2S, the Fujifilm team. Congratulations that the X-H2S is the camera of the year 2022. Well done, guys. And that's the last picture. Once again, I enjoy myself using all these 4 lenses, but actually about 80% of the time I used the 23mm most of the time, actually. So this is actually a very essential piece of lens for me compared to the rest. I would love to use the 13mm, but unfortunately it's been cracked, so I didn't use as much for vlogging. So I hope you like my sharing of the picture I take during this holiday of mine. Hope you enjoy these pictures and hope you could learn something from all this. Once again, thank you for watching Fuji Fanboys, and good afternoon from Singapore. Cheers.